Hi, this is Christine with Christine Marie Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to create this graphic. The first step in creating graphics is to make sure you have all your elements in one place, which I do, and I'm going to show you how to take a background photo image like this and turn it into a stylized graphic for your brand. The other element that I need is my logo, which I have open and ready to go in Illustrator. So the first step in creating a graphic like this is to create a new file, and I'm going to go ahead and create this graphic at 600 pixels by 600 pixels, which is kind of my favorite size right now for graphics. I'm going to go ahead and leave the color mode in RGB. That's the best for the internet. And I let it default to a white background. That's no problem. That's what I'm looking for. So my first step is to create the blue background. My background color is a hex code for my brand is 28859A. And there are two ways to fill a layer. The first way is to go ahead and go up here to Edit, Fill, and I want to fill with the foreground color, which the foreground color is right here. This is the background color. I'm going to go ahead and fill that. I'm going to undo that so I can show you the other way. The other way to fill is using keyboard commands. I can select Alt Delete, and that's going to automatically fill whatever layer I'm on with the foreground color. Step 2 is to create a layer that's going to have an overlay of the photo that I want to use as a stylized background. If we look back at this image here, we can see that I have this stylized background, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that step. I'm going to go ahead and copy this image. Select it first, select all, and then copy. And you can also use Control-C. I'm very used to using keyboard commands. And I'm going to paste using Control-V. The other option would be Edit, Paste. Now, what I just did there was Control-T, which is transform. I'm going to go ahead and show you the other way to do that. Edit, Free Transform is going to allow me to size and move this graphic around. I'm going to go ahead and just bring it on down. It's way too big right now, to about the size that it was showing up in my sample graphic. So probably a little smaller. The beauty of having a nice big graphic like this is that you can move it around and still keep a branded graphic, but have it be slightly different graphic to graphic. That's a little tip for you. I'm going to go ahead and call it good right there. So now I'm going to hit return to go ahead and confirm that that's the size that I want. This graphic is obviously still in the kind of sepia brown tones of the original graphic, and what I want to do is make it stylized. I want to overlay it. One of my favorite modes in Photoshop is soft light, and modes are right here, and there are several that you can play with. Lots of fun trying different things. One of my favorites is soft light. That's the one that I use quite frequently because it gives a nice monochromatic background that isn't going to interfere with the readability of type. So the next step that I'm going to go ahead and do to create the look of this graphic background is to remove any color from this image so that it just lays nice and even on that blue and doesn't alter the blue of my brand. So to do that, I'm going to go to Image, Mode, or excuse me, Adjustments, Desaturate, and that's going to remove all the color out of that image. I still feel like this is a little too strong. It's going to interfere with the readability of the type, so I'm going to go ahead and bring the opacity down to 70%. And that is how I create a branded background for my graphic. Now that I have my background ready to go, I'm going to install a guide that's at the midway point of my graphic so that I can center my type using the guide. One way to do that is under View, New Guide, and I'm going to go ahead and make it at 300, a vertical guide at 300 pixels because my graphic is 600 pixels wide. You can also drag guides out from the ruler. That's a real quick shortcut. If you want precision though, go ahead and go up to View, New Guide. The first thing I'm going to do is lay down my URL, which is at the bottom of my graphic. And it's going to go ahead and type it's going to put my type in the color that's in the foreground. So I'm going to show you how to change that. And you'll see here it comes up right here as a layer, but we can't see it because it's blue. I can go ahead and do my keyboard shortcut where I switch. You can switch the foreground and the background colors with this little arrow. If I put the white in the foreground, I can hit Alt Delete and fill in my layer with the correct color. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control T. Oops, excuse me, wrong command. I'm going to go ahead and open up my type box and adjust this font to match what I've got going on here, which is a small font, Brandon Grotesque, size 16. And it's already Brandon Grotesque, so we're going to go ahead and fix it so that it's not all caps. And 16 points. It's a little tight letting. I'm going to go ahead and do like a -10, so it's not quite so tight. So now I've got my URL at the bottom of my graphic, which I recommend so that people can find you if they like your graphic. The next step I'm going to go ahead and take is to grab this logo that I want to use at the bottom just as an icon. I'm going to hit Control C to copy and then Control V to paste. You can just go right between Adobe programs like that. It brings it in with handles so that I can size it to the size that I want right off the bat. Bring it down, bring it down a little smaller. And now I have my logo at the bottom, but it's not in the color that I want. I'm going to go ahead and fill this in white. If I fill it in white right now, it's going to fill in the entire layer. I want to go ahead and lock out this layer so that right here, this little icon here, so that when I fill, it's going to fill only the logo. The logo needs to be dropped back just a little bit. My preference is to have a little bit of the background showing through and have the logo not be quite so prominent. Let's start bringing in the type. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to click and insert the first line of type, and then for the sake of length of this video, I'm going to go ahead and quickly work through the rest of the type, give you a few keyboard shortcuts and hints as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and start with To Live A and get that inserted. I'm going to go ahead and click on the type icon, and then when I insert it here on the guide, it's going to go ahead and automatically create a layer for me. I have this set in the sample graphic at 28 points high and all caps. And I like to intentionally space out my lettering sometimes, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there's my first line of type. Maybe this is something you can go ahead and use to create graphics faster. This is one of the things that I just automatically do after using Photoshop for 20 years. I have 6 lines of type here total. So I'm going to go ahead and create 6 layers of type by using Shift, Alt, and drag, and then it's going to go ahead and duplicate the To Live A text layer for me. So this is a speed demon kind of way of doing this. Now I can go in and edit these. And in order to go ahead and click on this next layer of text, I need to actually be on it. So I sometimes, to clear out, this layer is selected right now. To clear that out, I'm just going to select this arrow key and then go back to the type. We must. Whoops. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and stylize these layers super quick. Melanie Lane is the font that I used for this script font, and I love it. It's something I use in my logo also. I'm going to go ahead and put 0 there and make it nice and big. I'm going to go ahead and also, this is pretty, but I want to have it more disconnected. So a combination, there we go. Never know the exact combination. I always fiddle with these little buttons till I get what I want. Not all fonts allow you to do that. All right, so To Live and We Must are the same size and style, so I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to go ahead and stylize our Lose Our Fear. I used a nice big bold font for that, and it's nice and big. And then of Being Wrong, what I'm doing here is right-clicking to identify the layer. It drops down the layers, and I can just go ahead and select it right here. I tend to be a keyboard person. It's much quicker. And since I have that layer selected, I'm going to go ahead and just move it around where I want it. And this is nice and small. Bring him down. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, so it's when it's reduced down in Facebook and Pinterest, it can still be seen. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the guide. That is Control semicolon. You can see how when you learn keyboard commands, you get really fast. And then we're going to go back and see how it's looking compared to the original graphic. I'm just doing a little bit of fiddling around here to get it just so. I'm kind of picky. Yeah, pretty close. Let's give this a little more space here. Now, one more element remaining is these quotation marks, and they're very soft and subtle. I'm going to show you how to do that. Create a new type layer, add quotation. The font that I used is a different font, another brand font for me, and those I made quite big. All right, so we're going to position this, and then we're going to go back to our favorite layer mode of soft light, and I'm going to drop it down so that I get a little bit of an effect here of the background showing through. So this is the completed graphic. It's probably slightly different, but I can now use this graphic as a base for creating future graphics. One tip would be to move the background around to create a little bit different effect, a different look. and change the type out, and I still have a branded graphic, but it's going to be a little bit different than the one I just made. And the final step here is to save the Photoshop layered file so that you have it for future reference. And then to save a JPEG file of what you just did so that you can use it to share. And that's under Save As, and I'm going to drop this down to JPEG. And I like to save at least as a high. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 9. So there's my graphic, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask those in the comments below, and I would be happy to answer those for you or take your question and make it into a future tutorial.